Over the years, my game collection has grown exponentially due to not selling or trading in the past decade and a half. I've enjoyed collecting games and creating a varied library, with a lot of these purchases giving beautiful and horrific experiences. Although there are many I have yet to play, some left in tubs, unused. Personally, it's not fair to box up something that another could see as precious. So the objective is to go through every single game in my collection. It's possibly going to take me years. Actually, I calculated it will take me years. Each episode, a friend, myself, a peer, whoever, chooses 3 games from this collection, any game of their choosing, and I have to play those games within a fortnight, and not only that, throughout those 3 games, I have to choose 2 to sell and 1 to keep on the shelf. Outside of the video, I'll double check the condition they are in physically, see how much they go for, and make a fair deal. They will be sold locally and you'll find out what happens in the next video perhaps. Why am I doing this? Well, all the money I make from the games will be going directly to my Hammerhook Productions fund box, which is my new channel for future short films. Since this is the pilot episode, it is going to be a bit experimental, but I can assure you that over the course of time, this show will become very confident. And for today, I picked a specific theme, and that is PlayStation 2 Platinums. So starting off with game number 1. I have wanted to tackle Onimusha Warlords for a long time, only playing the first half an hour sleep deprived in my college days. I couldn't tell you much. Now having played it, I can let you know that Onimusha delivers a simple narrative of Samanosuke as well as Kaede saving Princess Yuki from the Demon King. The Demon King unleashes his spawn of the underworld and have to fight through varied creatures and undead. There's more to it in the background via journal entries that expand the history of Nanamagari and their civilization, but that's all I needed going in. The story overall is fine, and is pretty right with a solid 5-hour runtime excluding deaths. Although some of the dialogue, along with its delivery, doesn't land a lot of the time.
Why don't you go back to playing with your worthless little toys?
What does land is the atmosphere of this game. For Onimusha to come out in 2001 and still look genuinely impressive is to be applauded. Creating pre-rendered backgrounds and these dynamic camera compositions craft a believable setting and stops the player from being confused about their whereabouts. Especially in the main fortress, where many lay dead and the rooms seem to repeat. The ambience when enemies aren't on center stage craft a beautiful vista in a troublesome world. Moving Samanosuke and sometimes Kaede around is classic tank control logic. It takes a bit of time adapting, but after learning how to block properly, arranging through different swords, I was in full swing. You'll primarily be using the L1 button to block parry, the square button to unload a series of attacks, then absorb energy such as health, weapon energy, and skill points to upgrade with circle. Becoming acquainted with the D-pad is necessary, and by Jove, it's rewarding. The R2 button lets you do a quick spin in case you're pointing the wrong direction of the enemy, yet my favourite thing to do is this backstep slide. It's so fun to do and hilarious to watch. It's a solid gradual challenge, especially as the enemies keep respawning, leaving time for those wanting to beef up everything in their playthrough. Although it is required for game progression as certain doors are locked by orb upgrades, so you need to get up to a specific number beforehand. You know what? I love the weight of the different swords given. The fire sword is heavy and really disposes of the big titans. Then there's the lightning sword that is light and unleashes an awesome heavy attack. But my favourite is the green double-edged staff, which is fast and great for a swarm of enemies. The mythical bosses are great and very enthusiastic about killing you, but the main reward for defeating these mythical bosses is clammy, sweaty hands afterwards. This wasp queen left me that way. I won't go too deep into the spoiler territory for those interested, but this boss Marcellus, without many upgrades, was a feat in itself, especially the final boss. Which leads me to a major negative for this version of Onimusha. One thing I am not a fan of, and an issue with games of this time, is unskippable cutscenes. Many times through the later boss fights, I would keep dying, force back to the menu, have to load my previous save, run back to the room, go through the cutscene, wait it out, pray to God, sanitize my hands, bring it on. Another minor issue was these take a chance puzzles, which work for the situation but results in a game of luck. Otherwise, you died. I couldn't figure out the treasure boxes, so I didn't get any unlocks, and I don't know whether I needed more book entries. I didn't worry myself about it too much, as I primarily wanted to get through the experience. Onimusha Warlords surprised me, and it's still worthy of being played again. I do look forward to the sequel, as I have heard greater things, especially after the end card ending that kind of felt underwhelming. I've never played Jak and Daxter before, which is shocking as I have played 2 and 3. My fondest memory about the game was watching an old friend of mine who got the game for his 9th birthday. He was a cool friend as he was really fond of wrestling, taught me some moves, and if I managed to tackle him to the ground he would reward me in a tuxedo vest. I was a fan of the Tuxedo Jackie Chan movie at the time. Anyway, at his birthday party the guests were grubby. They wanted to take over the controller and play. He was honestly pissed off, kicked everyone out of his room, leaving him alone to the experience. Me being me, I believe I knocked on the door, I just opened it, and asked if I could watch. He was rather adamant about wanting to play it himself, which was totally fair, and I just sat there looking at this amazing new generation for video games. I didn't say much of anything, as I knew this meant a lot to him, and upon reflection, this was probably his biggest gift growing up. A PS2 and a game was massive back then. I sincerely hope he is doing well. Now that the controller is in my hands, it is time to experience Naughty Dog's Jak and Daxter. I actually want to start talking about how you control Jak with all the fluent platforming. There was rarely a moment where a mistake occurred because of the game. All the roll jumps, crouch jumps, and other methods of getting around the world was majorly enjoyable because it motivates taking risks. You can do a crash type spin attack, a big punch which zips you a bit further. He has a double jump he can roll, and even head bash. They all flow well. Jak controls lightly whilst moving around, but each move set has a form of weight. As I went along, the confidence I felt was immense. Not only are there unlimited lives and somewhat forgiving checkpoints, but the acquired skills you have at the beginning are all you need to get to the end. It's not like Jak 2 or Jak 3 where you slowly get these new weapons and different powers. What you get is what you get. Creating combos with Jak's acquired skills became second nature. Gelling that with the level design, it's no wonder many out there love to speedrun Jak and Daxter. The levels, albeit areas, are catered in a way of being open, but not to the point of it becoming overwhelming. Players of any age or skill set can take a safer approach or gamble to find another way faster. With the freedom of going where you please to a certain extent with the camouflage loading, it left me satisfied. Seamless is the striking word for Jak and Daxter, as you can be at the beach for one moment, then make your way to a boggy swamp, a cave riddled with big spiders, and it happens without thought. Some areas are complex in terms of getting around, but the backgrounds, their vibrancy, made me want to stand there for a bit. Knock some enemies out of the way, and it's a treat to observe before venturing. Speaking of treats, the music is like Little Bear's porridge. It's just right. Nothing egregious, mainly mellow. There's palettes of bongos, marimba, techno, bass, and more, so much more. Misty Island can be ominous, yet a bop simultaneously, Mountain Pass straight up rocks, and Volcanic Crater made me want to stay on the minecarts for a little longer than usual. What I didn't want to stay on for long though were the vehicle segments. They aren't bad per se, mainly a slog to get through if dying on a repeated basis. They maneuver in a clunky manner for my liking. Once they are done, there's more platforming to achieve, so that's always nice. Which results in more world building, and I adore it. Combining the seamless nature of traversal results in encountering new side characters through the journey. They are ranged from wacky to sincere, and I got the gratification that they really do live in the world, making a living, standing in the places where they always stand. Their models are so bouncy with lovely animations and lively voice acting. I'd be excited to see who I'd meet next going from Sandover Village to Misty Town. I should talk about the main duo Jak and Daxter. For someone who doesn't say a word to the other having a full dictionary in their mouth, their chemistry and interactions with characters such as Tess and Samos Hagai, I don't know how to pronounce his name, are fun to watch. Just the facial expressions with the TV muted conveys all that needs to be said. At the beginning, seeing Daxter turn into an ocelot by the Dark Eco is humorous, but gives the Dark Eco a dangerous presence, knowing what it can create in their world, which makes all the enemies that have been corroded by the Dark Eco very intimidating and creepy, excluding the bosses, who aren't that compelling. I think with the pace of the game itself, you forget about there being a big bad, and once it's there, it's like, oh, that's right, there are bosses in the game. They aren't horrible, they come across as few and far, mediocre at best. Collecting is where it's at. Collecting the precursor orbs all around the place and successfully obtaining power cells became addicting. Like, just look at this. Which is probably why I rarely put my controller down. One more power cell, one more area, one more bug. It was a delight completing minigames and honing my skills to obtain difficult collectibles. I finished Jak and Daxter with a 97% completion. Since there's one more game to get through, I had to say Bon Voyage for now, and I also know that I have the Jak and Daxter trilogy on PlayStation 3. .007 Nightfire has been on my Bond catalogue for quite some time. The World Is Not Enough, GoldenEye and Bloodstone are the primary games I've finished and really enjoyed. I heard a lot of brilliant things, and the title screen immediately kicked that feeling into gear. I originally came for the story of Nightfire, but stay for the gameplay. It's a basic story of a villain who wants to dominate the world with nuclear explosives around the end, and Bond, the one-man army, gives it all he's got to stop these plans, go to different locations, have some Bond girls beside, and, you know, there's espionage, there's action, there's driving chases, there's a lot. Despite being recorded on VHS, there is no denial in saying Nightfire looks fantastic for something that came out in 2003. In fact, all these games I've gone through this episode have been stunning to look at. The lighting of the sunsets and nighttime glows here with moody rooms and weather effects are attracting to the eyes. After finding the suitable control system, there's actually a diverse range of control options based on Bond movie names, I got into the swing of it. The first level is a great starter, this beautiful castle in the snow, and it left me trying different outlets. Can I go guns blazing? Can I make my way through stealthily? Yes and yes, and even more yes. I died quite a few times, yet in a good way. Doing so helped me learn how to take on a level in my method of comfortability. The gun sound effects are blissful, not plush, very hardy, except for the silences, which have to be plush. As the game went along, the tougher levels started to show up, and my oh my, I dig the gameplay. For example, this Cherry Blossom Retreat. Numerous deaths occurred. My knowledge for this level is imprinted in my brain for the rest of time. I know exactly where to go, where to aim and shoot, where to be very stealthy or where to be aggressive, where to protect these lovely ladies is my favourite part for sure. Completing a level with all side objectives ticked in a single run is top tier dopamine. Locking on and shooting a slew of enemies is exhilarating, sure, but also the gadgets are magnificent. Like, there's no duds, they just get the job done, and they're very helpful. But then came the driving sequences. They changed the pace for Nightfire in a great way, others not so much. Driving through the snow and using unrelenting missiles and turrets from the sleek car is exhilarating, all while the music dials it up. Yet, for every good vehicle chase, you get like a mediocre one where you're driving away from all these enemies and you're in the middle of this circle demolition derby with other cars and a middle section turret that just keeps shooting and killing you and you just get really aggravated. But that is not as bad as this piece of crap. This subcar level can go die, never return. It was the first I ever told Judi Dench's M to shut up. So you have to be stealthy, dodge the camera radar things in the beginning, then dodge these mines, then follow this vehicle that is also dropping mines behind you, dodge those, then you get to this big base, have to activate these laptop computer things, and then dodge all the missiles that are shooting right at you. Like, I had not experienced that in a long while, because when you die, you go back to the very beginning. Also, this is a spoiler for the last level, so if you don't want to see it, skip to this part of the video. Okay, now, the level is cool in concept, but oh god, did it become annoying after so long. Having to learn zero gravity controls, deactivate the satellites, whilst being shot at astronauts with lasers, and then defeat the main villain? Oh boy, it took some handling. But it was a very fun looking set piece, so I'm not going to go too harsh on it, especially when the rest of the game was so good. The ending felt a bit anticlimactic, but can't worry too much about that, as I still have a few Bond games up my sleeve when that time comes around. Nightfire was fire. That's the best description for it. It was intoxicating to look at, and I couldn't take my eyes away, except for the subcar part. I was genuinely impressed by the gameplay and the variety of weapons, gadgets, and being able to go about things however I wanted to a certain degree. Magnifique. And now it's time to decide the fate of these free PlayStation 2 games. This was such an entertaining romp that it actually hurts to sell 2 of these. But I have to. And the one game that gets to be saved and put back onto a shelf that is not this shelf but another shelf, and that game is Jak and Daxter. It's so sad to sell these, but I had a lot of fun with Jak and Daxter, and there's a lot of replay value with this one. These ones, I had so much fun playing through these, but I can guarantee myself that I wouldn't replay them again. Whereas Jak and Daxter just had that oozing fluidity and control, and I feel like it'd be a great afternoon type of game where you just play through it, relax, sit back down, and forget about the world for a bit. And the thing is I am not confident in selling this copy as it looks pretty damaged, and there's no manual in it. The disc quality isn't that great. I would only sell it for $5 if I'm honest. Whereas these, I would get a little bit more extra profit for the Hammerhook funds. So, with that being said, thank you very much for watching today's Sell or Shelf episode, and again, let me know what you think about it, and also subscribe if you're brand new to this channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.